Shalom. So today we're going to look at Exodus chapter 20 and verse 17. We're going to talk about lust. We're going to talk about covet, right? This is the book of Exodus chapter 20 and verse 17. It says, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's." Right? No, sometimes we just read this and think that, oh, the Bible says don't do this, so we are not going to do it. And that's just how it works. I'm a law follower, so I don't do these things. But we have to look at it at a more experiential level where we can integrate what is saying here into our experiences, because a lot of times we teach our children to covet. We nurture the behavior of coveting and we don't realize it. And then is when they become adult, guess what? Now you want to get them to change certain behaviors, but you did not recognize that that was the very same behavior that you were nurturing in their childhood stage. Now, what happened is the same desire, the same covet, the same lust had been there from childhood, but it is the things that they're coveting now that has changed. That now you can see it's covetousness or it's lustful desires. So it is the object that you're looking at now why you can see that something is really wrong. But when it was so simple back then, you did not catch it. So here's an example. You know how children are. There's always this spoiled little, the last born, right? Now you come with this set of markers. You give the child, him or her, whatever it is, whoever it is, the chance to first pick which one of the markers they want. Now, they go and pick the red one, right? You sure that's what you want? Yes. Now you give all the other children markers, crayons, right? Guess what? Now he or she starts crying. Now they want this purple one that is now given to another person, to another child. But because she's a baby, she starts crying, he starts crying. Guess what you do? Now you go back and take this from this child and you give it to this one, and you give this one to this child over here. This child is okay with whatever, right? Now what happens now after he or she has this one? What does he want back, or what does she want back? No, they want back the red one, but you keep giving. That was your opportunity to stop it, to say, hey, that what you're doing is lost and you better stop crying, or else I'm going to take away this one from you. You did not stop it from that stage. But it was okay. You didn't see it so critical. You didn't see what's going to happen after a few years when the behavior doesn't change. So what we're going to look at now, we're going to look at experiences coming up, how we nurtured the behavior of lust and covetousness and did not catch it. We did not recognize that that was what we were doing. Now, when these children turn teenagers in our houses, and we want them to do something, guess what? It's not happening because we should have done these things earlier. Now, after 16 years, you want to get them to change this when you were okay with it all along? Hell no, they're not doing that. Not these teenagers. And it's the same thing now. These people, they become adult. Guess what? That same lustful desire that has always been fulfilled created all these tendencies, all these habits. And what do habits do? Recycles itself. A habit recycles itself, right? So we're going to look at the desire, right? The desire, the subject. What is the subject? I, right? Who is the I? The I can be a child, it can be a teenager, it can be an adult. So these are just different stages. So, like I said, the child, what they want is they want some form of toy, candies, or whatever it is that children want. So this is the subject here that's desiring something. The object of the desire is going to be candy or some form of toy for a child. Now, as I said, we nurture those behaviors as parents because we thought Exodus 27 was just talking about adults desiring a manservant or a maidservant or your neighbor's house or another man's wife. You were not looking at the same behavior from the state of the childhood. And you might not even see the same thing because you're saying that, oh, I do not covet the neighbor's servant or his cow or his goat. Yes, those might not be your objects, but when you get to the adult part of this video, you're going to understand that yes, you have the same desires, just different objects, right? So, like I said, the child is going to desire toy candy. You did not culture that cultivate that behavior. You did not cry slap them when they cry for the things that they do not want. They only want to possess it because you have it. Because you first give them the opportunity to choose which one you want. They choose one. No, these are given to other people. That's the time they want it. That's covet. That's lust. Right? No, this same child that is always crying for something that's given to somebody else. No, this child is a teenager. Guess what? They don't want candies anymore. They do not want a dolly or a bike or a football. Guess what they want? No, he wants a girlfriend or she wants a boyfriend. But they don't want this girl that is single. They don't want this boy that is single. They want the same one that you have. This guy is free, this woman is free, but they don't want it. They want the same one that you have over here. So it's the same thing, right? They might want name brand clothes. So this is what you can afford, a regular shirt with just some flowers. But because they see this person in what their shirt, those people, their shirts have Versace, Armani, this brand, that brand. No, they don't want this one that you can afford. They want that one. The same behavior, just different objects, right? The child might want a video game. So you can only afford well, whatever game there is, the cheapest game. But they want the PlayStation, the Xbox, but you can only afford a simple game, right? So these are the objects that teenagers desire when they're at that stage, right? But guess what now? You cannot afford the clothing that they want. So you have a daughter, right? You have already spoiled her. Okay, mommy's gonna get her everything, daddy's gonna get her everything. No, you're at a stage where you cannot do that anymore. They're at teenage stage. Guess what? They're gonna want to get it from somewhere else. They start calling the uncles abroad, the aunties abroad, the grand when they cannot get it within the family. Guess what? The desire is still there. The objects of the desires are still there. You did not instill these principles in them. So guess what? They're gonna find other means because they don't know how to deal with this desire. The only thing they knew or were taught for years was it needs to be fulfilled. They think that peace is going to come from it. So once they're trying to reach this object, once they get it, they think they're going to be at peace. No, you're going to desire another object because every time you fulfill a desire, it motivates you to do what? To repeat the behavior. Dopamine, right? No, you pass teenage stage. You become an adult. You do not desire a candy anymore, a toy, a name brand clothes, video games. You pass those stages, but you still have this desire, right? So in your adult stage, guess what? You're not satisfied with this job. You want that job over there. You're not satisfied with this house. You want that house. You're not satisfied with this car because you see your friend over there driving that car, right? And sometimes the problem with these type of things is that it's really not your own desire. It's because you see it, you see somebody possessing it. Now, this eye that wants, that same eye needs to go for it. Not understanding, no. This person, he did not get his car from the career that he has. He had a rich uncle, he has a rich uncle abroad, and that person bought him the car. Now you think that okay, you need to go to do the same career so you can buy the same car. Now you're in problem because guess what? You can't afford it. He couldn't afford it. It was his uncle. But because you see it, you look at it, you perceive it. No, the ego wants to take possession. And this is how you know when the desire is coming from your spirit or the desire is really coming from your ego. Ego is desire is what? It's the desire to possess. Because think about it. When you go in a toy store or a candy shop, do you as an adult get excited over all these toys? Like you can't leave the store without getting one of them? No, you don't desire those objects. But the child, when they're in the toy store or the candy shop, guess what? They want everything, the desire. So you are at that stage. No, it's the same thing here. Your desired objects are these things. So when you see them, when you see another man's wife, guess what? You cannot contain yourself because the same tendency is there. And it doesn't have anything to do with lack because what a lot of people like to say is when people step outside of their relationship to commit adultery, they're saying that something in their relationship is unfulfilled. But but that's not the case. Because even if you should go back to the beginning, Adam and Eve, what would you say was Eve was lacking that she went and that she wanted to possess a knowledge that didn't belong to her? That didn't come from a lack. That came from her own imaginations. She saw the way this person is living. She saw how things working out for this person. No, she desired to possess that. It's the same way. You see this person have a car. You see the type of job the person does. Guess what? You didn't want to be that career. You didn't want that career. But because you see the job the car the person is driving, you believe that you need to go and get this job so you can get the car. You might have a car, but maybe you want that car because you desire. Now it's the same thing. Eve had her knowledge and she had the highest knowledge of all. But guess what? Her knowledge doesn't permit or allow her to do certain things. But the knowledge that these people have over here, they can do it. Now guess what? She sees how this man make sacrifices to the sun, to the moon, all of these things, perform all these rituals, and she see how it worked for her. Now she goes get the same thing and do what? Start doing the same sacrifices to the moon, the sun, doing all of these things. She didn't lack anything. So desire does not depend on your lack. It is just about you wanting to possess something that does not belong to you. So what you do? What do desires do? It compromises our intelligence. Eve already knew what she was supposed to do and what she was not supposed to do. The desire comes up, it compromises what you already know. Now you're on this uncontrollable search to fulfill this desire. And guess what happens? If the desire is about this, you want this brown marker, right? You're going towards the desire. Anything that comes in the way, any obstacle or obstruction or whatever it is, you know what's going to come out of that, what desire is going to turn to? It's going to turn into anger. So guess what? You and your husband went out on a dinner. You had a good time, but all of a sudden you find out that on your way home, your husband is just bitter against you. You don't understand where it's coming from. Guess what? He saw a woman that he wanted to exchange words with. The obstacle in the way would be you. Now, what happens? It turns into anger. So now he just changed, start speaking certain way against you, start behaving a certain way, and you can't understand where this is even coming from. So an unfulfilled desires do what? An unfulfilled desire turns to anger. Now, how do we fix this whole situation? Because we think that just reading Exodus chapter 20, verse 17, and it says, don't do this, and you believe that no, the sin in you, the sin in the flesh, the desire in the flesh is just going to hearken to the word. Oh, don't do this. It doesn't work like that. The first thing we have to do is what? Acknowledge. So rather than Adam and Eve acknowledge that there was a desire for this knowledge, that's the first thing you have to do. Acknowledge that you have a desire. Know that you're aware that you have the desire. Now you recognize it, you acknowledge it. So what you're doing, you're shining light and the desire, not the desired object though, yourself. So now you can witness yourself like, oh wow, I'm really going crazy for this knowledge. Really? You would want me to forsake this knowledge that I get from my God to go on to this? And you just laugh at your own mind because that's what the mind does. You being the spirit in you, understand that. So you don't give in to what the desires of the mind be. You don't give in to those desires. You just stay aware and you can laugh at it. So guess what? You no longer have a desire to possess. This is the I. I want. I don't want. I like. I don't like. Don't get lost. Don't lose yourself in this in the I. Don't lose yourself in the I that wants and don't want. In the I that likes and dislike. You are not that I. The real I is you that is aware of the I that wants this and don't want this. So when this is going crazy for some, you just understand that, oh, the child wants a toy. That's how you treat your mind in this situation, right? Now, you have desires that come from the spirit, which is natural in you. But then you have the ego. So the ego will take a desire that is in your spirit and it will mess with you. How does this work? For example, you're a person who helps naturally, right? Now, guess what? The law says take care of the fatherless. No, naturally, you're a person who just, you'll help fatherless children, right? No, you're helping this specific child, right? The child is living with the mother. The mother is now looking at the way how you're doing things and so forth. No, she's giving off a certain energy towards you. Now, guess what? Your intelligence is compromised. So no longer you are doing this out of love for the child. Now you're doing it to do what? To get something in return. What is in return? The mother of the child. So now you find out that, oh, this works. So it motivates you. So now you're going to do what? Help all these single mothers. So you might not go directly to say direct words to them, but you're doing these good things for the child, to the child, that she's admiring. And now, guess what? In return, you take her to bed. So you see, desire compromises the intelligence. It compromises what you already know to do and not to do. So from here, the person I who desire to hear the object that we want to possess, right between there's a gap that we can catch up on ourselves. You catch up on yourself, what do? You acknowledge it. No, yes, we know that first you have to acknowledge to the Most High, but what are some of the ways we do acknowledge these things to the Most High? Because just to go in an open space, your closet where no one is, and say, I have this desire and I want you to remove this spirit and so forth, right? The thing is, when you're in a relationship, This is not an easy thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. When you're in a relationship and you find yourself gravitating to somebody else, the best thing to do is to communicate it with your partner. Now, once you know that your partner know, guess what? There's no more darkness. So your partner will also be there to guide you. So whether the feeling be some residue from your last relationship or from somebody years ago that you didn't really process that breakup, whatever the case is, or somebody new you start to interact with at work or whatever the case be, somebody you met at the grocery store, whatever the occasion is, once you can acknowledge that, damn, there's a desire rising in me. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tell it to my spouse. So I'm now free from any form of guilt. Because when you keep it in darkness, you know what happens? There's some shape, form, or fashion that it will be nurtured. Either private messages, inappropriate conversations, or whatever the case is. So you want to examine yourself where the desire is coming from. Are you looking for something in return? Is this thing going against your morals? Don't compromise the intelligence. Be aware, recognize, acknowledge, and you don't need to do anything. So we have to start teaching our children. We know those cry babies. We have to start teaching them that that is covet, that is lust, and they will grow with that understanding. And when they become of age, guess what? They will not depart from that. Even if there are a few things to catch up on or to alter to some extent, at the end of the day, it's not going to be so difficult because you've already disciplined and you've instilled these things in them already, along with the fear of God, the judgment. Now, when you teach somebody this, Exodus 20 verse 17, that didn't know it before, guess what? You're going to have to give that person time to make those changes. Because if the person is accustomed to doing this from childhood, you cannot expect the person to get it by just you bringing the Bible. You're gonna have to have kindness, patience, compassion, because they're gonna stumble, they're gonna fall. But just don't be too harsh on your judgment. This is where love thy neighbor as thyself comes in, because you're now showing mercy. And over a process of time now, you find out that the person, by the willingness of the person, that willingness to change, the fact that the person knows that something is wrong with this behavior, I need to change it. Now you can work with that person. So I hope this gives some understanding and clarity on covet or lust behaviorally. So it's more than just an idea in the mind, it's behaviors. Behaviors are things that are manifested. Actions, or you call it fruits. So you be aware of yourself. You be aware that you have the desire, because most of the times what we do is we live in denial of the desire. We want to pretend that it's not there. No, no. I have my man, I have my woman. No, I do not desire this person. I do not, there's not a thing for this person. Nothing is wrong with that. You can just see somebody, you just like something about the person, whatever the case is. There's nothing wrong with that. Your duty is to do what? To bring light to that, to make sure it doesn't go beyond that. So now to help yourself, you're also sharing with your partner. And once your partner knows, guess what? There's no need to be guilty. Your partner will be helping you through the process. And then it's going to die natural eventually. You don't need to resist. You don't need to fight against anything. You just be neutral with it. Just be aware. Make sure you're not giving any form of life to that thought. And after a while, guess what? It's going to subside in the knowledge that you have, in your intelligence, in your morality, because your intelligence is overpowering the desire. Shalom.